Baseball season is back. John and Jim, the wrap-up show. And we kick off 2025 with the oddest platoon in baseball history. Connor Joe and Jason Heyward, presumably in left field for the Padres in 2025. Let's do it. Start of another year. February is here. Pitchers and catchers are here. Super Bowl is over. Spoiler alert, Eagles won. All right, so John and Jim with you here on the wrap-up show. We are 30 subs, Jim, away from 8,000, which is crazy. So we got to get to 8,000 subscribers tonight with your help. Live or on replay, please subscribe. If you have not subscribed to this channel and you're here right now, whether it's live or on replay, please subscribe. You're on content. We're here on Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, Lord, help us. So please subscribe. You're on content for Padres fans. Smash the like button for us. Follow us on X at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. If you want to support the channel and our work, you can click the $ below the chat box. We'll get to all of your super chats. If you want to see your comment on screen, if you want us to react to a comment or control the direction of the show, click the $ below the chat box. If you want to become a member, you can click the join button down below. An uneventful offseason is nearly over, Jim, because the season is essentially here. We're 2 weeks away from spring training games. Pitchers and catchers report in something like 48 or 72 hours, and the Padres still have questions that we've had about them for the last 100-plus days. But welcome to baseball season, Jim.
Yeah, baseball mode on.
Yeah, activated.
It's baseball time. Activation. Let's go. Yeah, pitchers and catchers report this week. And I said last week during my solo voyage on the radio.
That was easy, right?
Yeah, it's easy.
5 shows.
Yeah, it's 4 hours a day. It's okay.
Not hard. There's so much going on.
Yeah, nothing happening. It's all fine. I didn't think they were going to make any moves before the start of spring training. I thought they were going to get into spring training, maybe a week or two passes, see some guys and see what they have, and then be like, okay, yeah, this ain't it, or yeah, we're going to try this, and then make some type of moves. And then 601 hits on Friday. Well, the Connor Joe news happened. The Connor Joe news happened at like 2:30-ish. But then the Jason Heyward stuff happened that night. You're like, okay, here's their platoon, I guess, in left field. And I mean, I got to say, on the radio on Friday, I kept saying, like, Connor Joe's a nice depth piece, bench guy. Yeah, if you're going to use him every day, you got problems. But if he's going to be a platoon and, you know, he can get on base, he has a pretty good on-base percentage, and he can play multiple positions for you. And the nice thing is he's actually a Major League Baseball player, right? He's not some, like, rando minor league guy that they're going to give a shot to, like Mason McCoy or Brandon Lockridge, you know? So, and I like the story. San Diegan survived cancer, which is, I mean, amazing story in itself. I think it's good vibes, right, to bring to the team. But if you're expecting him to put up to like a profile year, not ever going to happen. I just don't. I'm sorry, I just don't envision that. Could be wrong, but I just don't. And then the Heyward stuff drops, and you're like,
yeah,
oh, that's their direction.
The odd thing to me about it, we can get into Connor Joe and Jason Heyward and, you know, Gavin Sheets and Tirso Ornelas and whatever they're going to do here. I think that the oddest part about it to me is that you're trying to create a platoon that doesn't even work if everything came to fruition. Like Connor Joe isn't good enough. And this is with all due respect to your point. I mean, you know, maybe he can put together a half year or a year. Like he's a great story, 100%. And USD guy coming back to San Diego, maybe it all clicks. I mean, it's possible. But like, okay, you're going to start Connor Joe against left-handers, and you're going to start Jason Heyward against right-handers, and that's going to equal Jerkson Profar, or the year before equal Juan Soto. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So it's not, and they understand that. That's fine. You don't have to replicate production. You can get it elsewhere. But unfortunately, they haven't really shown us their path to get the production elsewhere so far this offseason. Not to say, listen, Connor Joe could have a nice 60 games, or Jason Heyward could have a nice 60 games, or Tirso Ornelas, or Manny Machado could have a better season in 2025 than 2024, but it's a lot of ifs. And I thought there were a good amount of ifs heading into 2024. And, you know, Preller, with some of these moves, proved people wrong. So did the team. And so did Mike Schild. I mean, can they do it again? Potentially. It's a very odd situation in left field. It's one thing to go sign one player like Tommy Pham and say, hey, it's your job. It's another thing to platoon your way through, where, like, even if they platooned effectively, it still wouldn't be like replacement level platoon is what it would be. Connor Joe and Jason Heyward. So I don't know. Is it a stopgap? Is it maybe still going to be someone like Tirso Ornelas? Will it be someone like Gavin Sheets? To me, it seems like they've got a million fourth outfielders to go along with Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis. So, I mean, if that's your worst problem, again, it's a problem, but you do have Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr.
And if Jackson Merrill puts up another season like he did this past year, and if Tatis can stay healthy and put up like an MVP-ish type of year, right, then you're afforded to have a major dip in offensive production in left, because then it would all even out. But, you know, I look at this team right now since the final day of the season last year in LA, they're a worse team. They're not a better team than they were when the season ended last year. Like, if you want to use the logic, well, this time last year, they weren't this good. Well, that's not like, if we're using that logic, that doesn't make any sense. The logic is, at the end of last year, are they better than they were when they got bounced in the division round by the Dodgers? They're not. They're worse. And their solution to losing key free agents at this moment in time is a platoon of guys that, I mean, you just look at their numbers last year, they were not good. It's just not good enough. Connor Joe hit 228. Jason Heyward had some nice little moments. Defensively, he's good. Yep, but
he is.
I mean, you know, go to his Savant page. Oh my God. It's just awful.
He's got one tool, which is his glove, right? His defense.
Yeah.
I mean, the Heyward thing. I mean, if you have followed Jason Heyward's career, which I kind of did when he came up, I mean, he's never obviously lived up to the expectations. He got that huge deal. He's supposedly, you know, obviously someone has value in the clubhouse, which I think, okay, that could have value at whatever they're going to pay him, which is what, $1 million or $2 million. But if you're going to ask him to do the work, I just think you're asking for a lot. I mean, he's been waived each of the last couple of years. You know, he was waived at the end of that Cubs deal. He was waived by the Dodgers last year before he ended up in Houston. He's not a kid, nor is Connor Joe. I mean, nor was really Jerks and Profar. But Profar just put it all together. You kind of knew what Profar was potentially going to do because we had seen him before in a Padres uniform. I just feel like this is much more wishful thinking to make this work. And maybe it's not the plan. I mean, maybe the plan actually is they'll just vie for it in spring training. And by the way, if we made a bad $1 million signing, who cares? Right. Even the Padres with no money. But if Heyward doesn't work out, okay. If Connor Joe doesn't work out, okay. It's not like you're giving either of these guys $10 million.
Yeah, that's, I would say, the best part about this is it's not a low risk, high reward, because there's no high reward here with those guys. It's not. It's a low risk, end of discussion. Low reward. You're not, if these guys don't pan out, it's not, who cares? Like, it's $1 million, $2 million here. Like, you can, if David Peralta is still out there, then go sign him, you know, for the minimum or whatever. So could these guys give them something? Yeah, they could. I just don't know if that can last over 162. I really don't. Again, we would love to be wrong about this. And Jason Heyward and Connor Joe are the best platoon in the history of the sport. But I have very little faith that it is. It kind of feels like almost that it would be a stopgap for something that would be in the future. But I don't know what that would be in the future because they don't have any money to go spend. You know, if this was like, if you know, their regular left fielder was injured and he wasn't returning to the middle of the year, I'm like, okay, fine, stopgap until X player returns at X date. You know, like if they still had Ha-Seong Kim, you know, it's like, okay, X player is going to fill in at short until Ha-Seong Kim gets back. No, that's not the case. Right now, you're going into a season where you won 93 games and you're going as a contender with your left field situation is Connor Joe and Jason Heyward. That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting proposition. And again, maybe Tirso Ornelas eventually emerges and maybe that takes a half season. Or
I would just give him the job. Why not give him the job if it...
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you were willing to give Jackson Merrill the job a year ago, and it's not to make the comp that like Tirso Ornelas is a 24-year-old as Jackson Merrill's a 20-year-old, but like you gave Jackson Merrill a job and you switched positions. Is it like, do you really need to spend the $2 or $3 million on the platoon? Why not just give it to Ornelas? And by the way, if it didn't work out for Ornelas, why wouldn't you just sign Joe or sign Heyward after the fact? Like, or trade for them. If Jason Heyward had signed yesterday with the Seattle Mariners and it didn't work with Tirso or Ornelas, you could make that trade in a heartbeat because Seattle's not going to be, clinging on to Jason Heyward, all season long. So to me, it's a little, I think two things. It speaks to here's what I think it speaks to. They understand that they have to win now. They know they're not going to win like they did a year ago in all likelihood. But do you have a better chance to win by just plugging in like a major league veteran or by going the, youth route when you've got all these veteran players? I mean, this whole team is so old. Outside of like a Jackson Merrill, you look around at Steinman. I mean, Machado and Bogarts and Cronenworth, like this is not a young team. These starting pitchers, even this bullpen, this is not an overly young team. So I think it just speaks to like we need a serviceable major leaguer in there, a veteran that's kind of been through it. And that's how we'll start the season. If it doesn't pan out, we can pivot. But I think they recognize they got to find a way to win 85 games. And maybe you get another game out of Connor Joe and Jason Heyward that you don't get out of the youth movement. That's just my guess heading into spring training.
It just speaks where they are at as far as adding players go. They don't have the resources to add
correct
players that on face are like, oh, that's an upgrade or that takes care of the loss of Profar. And there's really nothing out there anyway that could have filled the hole of the loss of Profar that's on the market right now. So you work with what you have, and you have it's the show Chopped. I don't know, you've never seen it. You're given a
basket about like of food.
It's about food. It's on the Food Network, and the chefs are given shit ingredients, and you have to make like a really good dish out of it. And that's what Preller is kind of given here. Is he doesn't have a lot of money. He's got to get all these ingredients, and they're not great. And then you're kind of putting them in a basket, and Schultz and Preller and everybody have to kind of create something that's edible and that's good. But you're not getting the filet mignon. You're not getting this, high, like the Wagyu beef. Like you're just not getting that. You're getting the shitty piece of meat, like the beef tongue, and you have to make something really good out of it.
No, thanks. I want to pivot to the first super of the night from JD Gacho, loyal viewer. Guys, if you are here, we do appreciate it. Please subscribe. We're 30 subscribers away from 8,000. So if you're here, live or on replay, we have year-round Padres content for you. Baseball season is back. Please subscribe. We're 30 subscribers away from 8,000. And thank you for the super chats. You can click the $ below the chat box. It is a great way to support the channel and our work. We'll make sure to get to all of your comments on screen. Just click the $ below the chat box. He says, John, did you hear about Miguel Rojas's comments with Chris Rose? While you were away, Jim had an epic 10-minute rant on those gritty LA underdogs. I saw you tweet about it. I listened to it. I think the narrative is stale. I actually do believe that in that clubhouse, they thought that the Padres were their equal for a brief period of time. I do. I mean, I think that when I hear it from like four different, I don't think they're just trying to twist the knife post-mortem. I don't think it's a full post-mortem twist knife. I don't agree with them being a gritty little underdog. I do think there was a moment in time when the Padres won game 2 in LA and won game 3 in San Diego. They had their backs against the wall. Now, to their credit, they answered that. But I think for a brief moment, people probably thought in that Dodger clubhouse the Padres were their equal until they weren't, and they beat them convincingly in games 4 and 5. But no, I think that the general narrative, I think, is a tired one. But I do think in hearing from how many players have we heard from saying that, like, we thought the Padres had as good of a roster as anyone. And once we got to the Padres, yeah, I mean, I don't think they sent out an email like say that publicly. I think they probably believed it. They were beaten in the regular season, and they trailed in the series 2-1. I bet in the clubhouse, I bet when they put their head on the pillow, they had some fear that it was going to be tough to win that series, especially when they trailed 2-1. But, we know how it ends.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. You had the MVP on your team. Your top 3 in your lineup were all MVPs. You spent $1 billion in the offseason. You had a $325 million pitcher out there. You were the favorites in the series, and you had home field, and you had the best record in baseball. Give me a break.
Right.
this whole gritty underdog bullshit narrative.
Yeah, it's dumb.
It's dumb. Doesn't fly. You know, you did what you were supposed to do when you won the World Series. You were favored in every round that you were in.
Mm-hmm.
You had home field in every round that you were in. You had a first round bye. You won the division again for like the 50th time in a row. Yeah, you had some injuries. Every team did. And yeah, you were trailing, and the Padres ended up in Vegas becoming the World Series favorites at that point. But going into the series, you were the favorites. You had home field. And once you tie that up, and credit to them for winning game 4, but once you go back to LA, then you're once again the favorites. And it's a decisive game 5 at your ballpark. So I just don't want to hear it. That, you know, the Dodgers, this narrative of they're the gritty Dodgers last year. Like, no, what? Stop. You're not. You had injuries, yeah, but your entire lineup was amazing. You had Ohtani still out there, fully healthy, and Betts. Freeman was a little hurt, but guess what? He was out there. So give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, I just pulled this up. I just looked up Padres-Dodgers betting line for game 4. The Padres closed at -140 at home. So in that moment, of course, they were favored. Of course they were. They were home with a 2-1 lead. I mean, they only had to win that game. Yeah. Now we know what happened, and the rest is history. But yeah, that doesn't change that the Dodgers doubled up the Padres in spending. The Dodgers spent $1 billion on Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto. I'm talking about last offseason. Teoscar Hernandez. They've only doubled down, obviously, at this point. Like, it doesn't change the fact that heading into last season, Jim, we said the same thing. We said Dodgers are going to run away with this division. Can the Padres compete? Now we watched how it played out on field, and the Padres played very well last year. And they played the Dodgers specifically very well until they didn't. When it really mattered the most is when they played their worst and when they kind of caved in under that pressure in games 4 and game 5. So I would say 2 things can be true. I thought the Padres absolutely could have won that series. We all thought that when it was 2-1. But to pretend as if the Dodgers did it from this underdog hand is disingenuous. And of course, their hand has only gotten better since they beat the Padres in the NLDS in 2024.
And for every Dodger fan out there that uses this argument as an argument as to why they were the underdogs, quotation mark here, is, you know, and I had Blake Harris. Who's that? You heard of that name?
Yeah, of course. It covers, is it like LA Sports Network or whatever? Yeah,
he's a homer. He's a Dodger fan. So he's a homer. He's not a reporter. He's just a fan. Okay. And he quote tweeted my tweet using all of the, you know, the expert picks, right? And he's saying, well, look at this. And I'm like, hey, fucking moron, bro. Just because Joe Blow and Dontrelle Willis and Alex Rodriguez are picking the Padres to win the series still doesn't mean you're the underdogs. Okay? Those are just opinions from analysts. The true number to determine if you're an underdog or not is what's the line on the series? What's Vegas think? You have home field, you know, and at the start of the series, the Dodgers were the favorites. You know, going into
they were pretty heavy favorite.
Yeah, going into the Super Bowl tonight, guess what? The underdogs, technically the underdogs won the game because the Eagles were the underdogs going into the Super Bowl. So I don't know, just it's a tired narrative that for some reason continues to get talked about. I mean, you guys won, so like move on, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, I would flip the script on it. I mean, the gritty little underdog is the Padres if they put together a good 2025. Like, if you come out of this offseason with this ownership spat, with this payroll problem, with doing nothing, with seemingly getting worse, to your point. I mean, Jerks and Profar ain't walking through that clubhouse except for the visitors on opening day. Like, if the Padres can replicate 2024 in 2025, they're the gritty little underdogs. Like, that's who the Padres represent to me. Now, 3 years ago was different. They spent, you know, Padres, again, they're not the Sacramento A's. Like, I'm not pretending like it's the little engine that could. It's, you know, App State over Michigan. That's not the point. But I think really anyone over the Dodgers in 2025 is going to be seen as pretty damn significant if that happens in the postseason. So, I mean, the Padres have to get there first. I mean, that's the whole point. Like, you can't even put yourself on the same – you're not in the same conversation with the Dodgers. This isn't October of 2024 anymore. Like, all these teams are 0-0, but you're playing catch-up. Like you pray to get back to that series in October of 2025. That's when you're the gritty little underdog. That's when you're playing the Dodgers for a fourth time in 6 years in the postseason and trying to put the pressure back on and trying to learn from the mistakes of 2024. And maybe at that point you break through. But from now until October of 2025, Padres have serious work to do. Dodgers don't. Dodgers are going to be there. October's going to start. Dodgers are going to have a bye. Like I hate to say it that bluntly, but it's factual. It's going to be proven to be correct. It's on the Padres to put themselves back in a position where they can get back there.
Do you think the Jason Heyward signing is going to just put them over the top and like catapult them to become the favorites in the National League West when the season starts? You know, last week, I don't know if probably didn't listen. That's fine. You're on vacation.
I didn't listen one time.
That's good. I
did I did it at 5 p.m. on Friday when I flew back, and I was like, you looked miserable. And
I was struggling,
you were like,
I was like,
you're like,
just give me the finish line.
Like Super Bowl. What do you think?
But
I don't know.
So Pacoda, did you see this?
Yeah, I love Pacoda, dude.
Did you see what Pacoda thinks of the Padres?
82 and 80, right?
They have them right now at a 38% chance to make the postseason, so they'd be out. And they have them at a 0.7% chance to win the World Series. Fangraphs has the Padres at 82 wins, and their over-under at FanDuel is 85.5. Little high for all the projections, but I would like. That's a good number.
85.5 basically says you got a 50-50 shot to get to the postseason, in my opinion.
But the main numbers were what Fangraphs thinks. They think they're an 82 win team. What Pacoda thinks, and Pacoda thinks that they're out. They have them with like the Minnesota Twins and the Milwaukee Brewers.
I mean, the good thing about sports is of course you don't know.
You just never know. Yeah. You don't.
But I mean, also there was that story this past week where there's a 1.3% chance of an asteroid hitting Earth in 2032. That's twice as likely as the Padres win the World Series in 2025, based on the math. I mean, and I don't think anyone right now is building a fortress around their home for 2032. You don't think the asteroid's hitting us, right? That's my guess. Our viewers.
I mean, look, if by this time next year we're at like 12%, I mean,
then you start getting worried.
Then we might be talking here.
But I mean, starting the season with a 0.7% chance of winning the World Series. Again, to your point, I remember last year the postseason started, like the Padres had like a decent shot. I mean, they were up to like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% chance of winning the World Series. Then all of a sudden they're up 2 games to 1. They got like a 20% chance, 25% chance.
Things can change very quickly.
Things do change quick. I mean, you don't like to start necessarily from that position. They still have. Did you see the video they tweeted out? And Antonio, thank you, man. He says, I'm late, but what's up, guys? Thank you for the super. Appreciate you. Guys, if you're here, subscribe. We're 30 subs away from 8,000. And thank you for the supers. We appreciate your support of the channel. Click the $sign below the chat box if you want your comment on screen. Did you see the video that they tweeted out within the last 2 hours? Did you watch it in its entirety or not?
I didn't watch a second. Sorry.
The end of the video, here's the narrative that they're painting. This is a marketing message.
Let me see.
I can't believe I didn't send it to you.
Hold on.
Watch the whole video. Fast forward to 40 seconds in.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Because you know what do you think the narrative is that they're pushing? What do you think the narrative is?
My guess is unfinished business.
No, it's a good one. But
let me
watch it and you'll
about 40 seconds in.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last 10 seconds. You'll see it on screen.
Manny's back.
Yep, that's the narrative. The narrative is we have the pieces in place. We were just there. Machado didn't leave. Tatis didn't leave. Bogarts didn't leave. Darvish didn't leave. King didn't leave. Now, they didn't put King or Cease in there.
Interesting. Well, they probably put guys that are like under long-term contracts.
Yeah, but I mean, I get the point. Like, the Padres still have some elite talent. I mean, they have high upside with some of this talent. The talent's not getting younger. I get the point. Like, okay, you're bringing back a core. I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's just like, is that going to be enough?
I have said multiple times on the wrap-up show and John and Jim, if, you have a season where King and Cease replicate what they did last year, you have a healthy Yu Darvish for a full season that can give you 28 to 30 starts. Jackson replicates or gets close to his production level this past year. Tatis is healthy for a full season. Manny puts up his averages. Xander has a bounce back. Jake has a bounce back. You have still the batting champion Luis Ariz. He's not going to all of a sudden hit 220. Like, he's going to still hit for average.
100%. Yep.
You have a really good back end of your bullpen if you keep Robert Suarez here with him and Adams and Estrada and Reynolds and Hoeing and Morejon. You have good pieces there. But we've seen a lot of times that having a top-heavy roster, that's great. When those guys aren't performing, or when Manny goes 0 for 4 and Toddy goes 0 for 4 and you have a Rise go 0 for 4, who's going to step up? Last year, it was a lot of jerks and Profar. Higgy had how many moments did Higgy have for this team? Without him,
yeah,
maybe they don't make the postseason. So then you're looking at who they brought in, and can those guys step into those roles? The Jason Haywards of the world, the Connor Joes, the Elias Diaz. Can those guys step up? And then, the depth of this team is still an issue. If you read AJ Casavel's article on the non-roster invites, his main takeaway was the depth is a problem. They don't have ready-to-go guys on that non-roster invite list. You're looking at the bottom of the barrel. The Vrees and Salas, they ain't ready yet, nor should they be brought up. So if those guys are going to have moments, and they obviously will, who's going to step up in the place of the people that left this team last year, and who's going to have those moments? Manny can carry this team. We've seen that. But we've also seen Manny struggle. And last year when he struggled, it was Jerkson Profar who stepped up and had big moment after big moment after big moment. Who's going to do that this year? I'm worried, and that's just how I feel. I know Antonio says, Jim, why are you the most negative person ever? Bro, you're seriously confusing negativity with just talking things out and being real. Okay. Did I say this team's going to win 50 games next year? Bro, chill out and have a sense of some like brain power, and not think that everything is great all the time just because you're a Padres fan. Like, look at it through a lens that's not rose-colored one time.
All right, let's get to some of these supers. We also need to tell you about our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz. If you're here, subscribe. I think a lot of the reasons why we've had as much traction as we've had doing this each and every day, essentially for the last 5 years, is we are truthful and honest. Okay, so when
People
things
don't
are
like
good,
that.
we tell you.
They don't like.
Yeah,
it.
I mean that's kind of the purpose of the show. That's the purpose of the wrap-up show. It's the purpose of John and Jim. Like, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to be honest and truthful because we think Padres fans deserve it. We'll get back to the conversation in a moment. Please subscribe. Thank you for the supers. We'll get to all the supers here tonight. Can't do this without your support. Can't do this without the support of our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. He's been with us since the day we started the channel, which was in 2021. We've been doing the wrap-up show since the summer of 2020. So without Mark Nimitz, we never get this thing off the ground. If you've got an insurance need, let Mark help you, whether it's auto or home or renters or whatever it is. I've got a life insurance policy. I've got a homeowner's insurance. I have earthquake insurance. I just renewed for 2025. Whatever you need, let Mark take care of you. Click the link in the description down below. In addition, he's just a great insurance agent. How do we know? Because we do business with Mark. We have insurance through Mark, and I needed him in 2022. He took care of me when I had a flood in my place, saved us so much time, so much money. So he's a lifelong Padres fan. He's a native San Diegan. He does business in our community. So if you have any insurance need, all right, before you renew, get in contact with Mark Nimitz. He'll save you money. He'll save you time. He's a great agent if you ever need him. If you support the channel, please support Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance.
Yeah, all his information is in that ticker below, mnimitz at farmersagent.com. When you reach out to Mark, let him know that John and Jim from the wrap-up show sent you.
What is going on here? By the way, DM310, who's like the most loyal wrap-up show viewer, I kind of I like having him kind of in the chat, but I have no problem banning him either. Like, he's kind of annoying, but do we keep him, or like it's like this? What movie is that?
Gladiator.
Whatever. You can stay for now, but
look, it's funny to me that, and this is fine. It's what a fan does. I get it. but not every single transactional move made by a team is going to be great. Now, last year, Preller pulled off like one of the greatest seasons you could look at for a general manager. Can he do that again? Can lightning strike twice? That's probably going to be a little tough. That's just being realistic. So sorry if I'm not sitting here and over the moon about a Connor Joe Jason Heyward platoon. It's not the best. It's probably, to me, one of the most uninspiring things you can go into a season coming off a 93-win year that you could probably have. That's just how I feel.
It's like the day your homework is due, you hand it in, you know you're not getting an A or a B. Like the best possible starting spot is like a C.
Yeah.
And like you just went through the motions. That's what it is to me, because like it's truly done the last day of the offseason. Like, oh shoot, Super Bowl is Sunday and the truck's already in Peoria. We need a left fielder. Connor Joe's a good story. And he is. And he's had some success, by the way, in his career. And he might provide value. And Jason Heyward probably does have value in that clubhouse and has won and has had good seasons. But, you know, it's not 2014 anymore. And he's 36. And Connor Joe's going to be 33. So it's like, you got to be honest with yourself. Like, what are you going to get out of those players? And are you prepared to not get what you need? And are you prepared to pivot when you don't get what you need? Because if that platoon doesn't work, and there's a decent chance it doesn't, or even if it does, it's not Jerks and Profar from 2024, how do you make up for lost production? How do you make up for whatever he was? What was he last year? A 5-WAR player, a 4-WAR player?
Yeah.
If you get a combined 1 WAR out of that platoon, where do you make up for it? And it doesn't have to be Connor Joe or Jason Heyward. Is it Fernando Tatis Jr. returning to 2021 form and playing 157 games? Maybe.
Yeah.
But you're going to need to find it.
And the season's not going to, I hope it's not going to be defined by what Connor Joe and Jason Heyward do. They could be up in big moments and it could really hurt this team in certain games. But for the most part, the big picture and in their hype video, they are right. Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill, Luis Arraez, Jake Cronenworth. Those are going to be like the guys that are going to lead the way. And if they don't perform, then that's a much bigger problem than having a Connor Joe, Jason Heyward platoon in left field. I think a lot of pressure this year is going to be put on, can Xander Bogaerts, live up to a little bit of his contract? Because if you can't, that is just a big problem with your team. If he can, huge bonus. If Xander reverts to all-star Xander before he got here in his Boston days, huge bonus. Tatis can just stay healthy. That's a massive bonus for this team. Because if Tatis is healthy, he can put up 40 home runs in a season.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the biggest things and the biggest issues with this team. The Connor Joe, Jason Heyward, well, it's to me like one of the least inspiring things you could have as a platoon. It's not going to make or break your season. Making and breaking your season is if Tatis gets hurt again and misses 70 games. Making and breaking your season is if Xander Bogaerts puts together another season like he did last year, or Manny gets hurt, or Jackson Merrill falls off the map, or if your pitching, frontline starting pitching, goes down and misses time. Those are way more important than whatever Connor Joe and Jason Heyward do.
Yeah, 100%. HBBV is a longtime viewer and supporter and Super Chat supporter as well. I don't need to do the troll back and forth with Super Chats. I mean, it's February. It's February. We appreciate the support of the channel. I don't need the. It's February. Listen, the truth is, and Richard's a loyal viewer and a Dodger fan. The truth is, all season long, when we do all these shows, the Dodgers start with the upper hand. Okay, I mean, we don't need to do the full back and forth and relive what happened in 2020. We know what happened. Like, we all lived through it. Okay, so that's just a fact of the matter, and we'll see what happens in 2025. But Richard, thank you for the very generous super. He says the Padres were emotionally in every LA fan's head, including me. We had no doubts on matching the intensity of Petco and facing San Diego themselves. Talent, yes, we had the edge, but mentally, no way. San Diego had us by the balls. You had us. I mean, again, that's the part that makes it hurt and again, it's like when you hear Miguel Rojas, when you hear Mookie Betts, whomever else has commented on it, they're like, they kind of had us. They had the upper hand on us in 2024. They beat us in the regular season. They had a lead on us in the postseason. I do think I'm again, it's revisionist history to be like, dude, we see so much stuff on social media, Jim, where all these Dodger fans troll everything. I get it. They just won the World Series. I would too. But it's like in real time when the Padres had that 2-1 series lead, I do believe Dodger fans, Dodger players, Dodger executives, in a brief moment of time, of course they were concerned. How could you not be concerned? You're down 2-1 in the best of 5 series on the road. So I think two things are true. Yeah, you're concerned in that spot, but at the end of the day, they won the World Series,
Yeah. And going into this year, I don't know about you, John. Ever since the Dodgers just said, fuck it, we're going to sign every single top free agent in the offseason, and they signed Scott and Snell and Sasaki, everybody, right? They just signed Kike Hernandez earlier today to bring back. Like, oh, it's great. Teoscar Hernandez is back. Like, I don't know. I don't think about that. I'm not thinking about the Dodgers. I'm way more concerned that the Braves got Jurickson Profar. I'm way more concerned that the Mets got Soto and they re-signed Pete Alonso, and that the Diamondbacks got Corbin Burns. Like, I'm infinitely more concerned about those teams doing things than I am about the Dodgers doing anything right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a valid point.
I mean, come postseason time, if the Padres are good enough to make the postseason, then yeah, Dodgers are going to be a problem. You're going to have to go through them to get to a World Series. But to get there, to me, it's like the Dodgers are in. Just kind of lock them in unless something catastrophic happens. Can you beat the other teams that are going to be in front of you, for those wild card spots?
I'm glad that this was brought up because I wanted to get to this at some point. Thank you, Ben, for the super chat. Ben Matthews, he says, still thinking Cease King trade is likely. I don't think King is getting traded before the year personally. I think Cease absolutely could. He says, I'm almost sold on the Cease trade to the O's at this point just to fill the roster with good players. So apparently, I don't know anything about the O's system. Apparently, the players being discussed for Cease was basically Preller asking for the moon. So are you actually trying to move Cease? Or are you trying to twist someone's arm where if you really get everything, then why not just do it? Because you're getting, 3 of their top prospects, and they've got a prospect-laden organization that's been fruitful over the last half decade. I mean, are they really trying to move them? Or are they trying to get a coup in return, right? Like this unbelievable return that justifies moving him. But are they going to get that unbelievable return with 1 year of control for Dylan Cease? He's not making a lot of money, but he's only signed through 2025.
Preller saw the Luka trade and thought to himself,
yeah, let's do that.
Let's try that.
That's hilarious.
Dude, we've talked about Preller and how he operates, and he draws a line in the sand, and he asks for the moon, and he identifies players that he is going to ask for, and he's not moving off of that line. It's a very smart way of going about business here, and especially early in the process this year, because if this team at the trade deadline is in a position to sell, then you're going to go right back to the Orioles, and you've had a dialogue and a discussion, and there's players that have been discussed and talked about, and you're going to go and you're going to try to get those players at that moment if the Orioles are good as well. I think you always ask for the moon just for that one-off chance of a Luka type of trade where you're like, wait, you said yes? And then you just, run away, highway robbery. And I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 players that Preller says, like, look, there's no scenario you're getting Dylan Cease unless I get one of these guys, right? That's what happened with the Juan Soto deal with the Yankees. He was not going to the Yankees unless they got Michael King. Or maybe there's another player like Jason Dominguez. I don't know if he was even talked about,
right.
but yeah, that's what Preller does. It's smart. I applaud him for that, because why would you sell short? You wouldn't.
No, they shouldn't sell short. I mean, I don't think they should sell at all when it comes to Dylan Cease for 2025. I think with Cease, King, Darvish, you're already at a point where you're asking them to make 30 starts each just to get you to a finish line. And we don't even know who their fourth or fifth starters are going to be in 2025. I just think the hill gets steeper, maybe not long term. I mean, maybe you make a trade and you address needs that help you in 2025 and 2026 and beyond. It's a hard sell to me. I mean, they sold us on Soto. It worked, to their credit. I mean, that was really impressive what AJ Preller did a year ago with the roster. But I don't know how many times you can keep doing that. Like, how many times can you trade away that type of caliber of a player and continue to win at the big league level? I mean, Dylan Cease was a top 5 Cy Young guy a year ago. He threw a ton of innings. You're counting on him to give you those innings in 2025. And I don't know how you replicate what Dylan Cease did in 2024 if you don't have him. I just don't. I mean, wishful. I don't know how you replicate it.
Yeah, I really think that AJ does not want to trade Dylan Cease. And the only reason why he's asking for that much is because if he were to trade Dylan Cease, then he wouldn't feel as awful for doing it or feel like what am I doing here? I think he really does not want to trade him unless it's last resort. I think if they need to make a cost-cutting move, I would predict he turns to Robert Suarez, and or some type of package with like a Jake Cronenworth and something along those lines. But Dylan Cease to me does not feel like close to top of his list as guys that he wants to trade because he wants to win this year. And he knows that he's not going to be able to re-sign him next season. So why not try to get everything you possibly can out of him this year? And if you suck at the deadline, then trade him then.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm all for, like, because we're realists with this. I mean, if the Padres are not in it, you don't go chase something down, and you make decisions at that point. If they're not in it, that's another conversation. But that's not where we are. Like, in February, I'm not trading Dylan Cease. In July, I might trade Dylan Cease. But in February, I don't even want to consider it. I know that Robert Suarez has been more widely discussed, right? Kevin wrote something as recently as this weekend that, there's a possibility that Robert Suarez could be moved. I could absolutely sell that type of thinking. I mean, he makes over $10 million, which isn't exactly what Cease makes, but it's good money. It gives you a little bit of flexibility, and you have back end pieces. And truthfully, his second half was not perfect. And he was going through some things at the end of the regular season. He wasn't an issue, thankfully, for them in the postseason. So I could be convinced of moving Robert Suarez. I don't know what kind of suitors there would be. I mean, he makes a good amount of money. I don't know what you would get for Robert Suarez other than freeing up salary. You get something. Make no mistake. I mean, he's a very good closer, but you're not getting the same return for Suarez you're getting for Cease. I know that.
No, you're not even close. You'd probably get a low-level prospect or something along those lines. Maybe a couple prospects, but nothing that you would see like any immediate return on.
100%. Let's get back to the conversation in a moment. Let me get my MOVA Globe to show it off.
I'll get mine.
Oh, you get yours, and I'll get mine.
Boom.
Boom. Look at these puppies. 2025 is here. You're looking for a great gift for a baseball fan. Baseball's back, folks. Pick up a MOVA Globe. Click the link in the description down below. Get 10% off. Use promo code PWS10. PWS10. They got all 30 teams officially licensed. Companies based in Cardiff by the Sea. This technology was invented here in North County, Cardiff by the Sea. Really cool keepsake items for baseball fans, whether you're a Padres fan or a Cubs fan or whomever you root for, right? These are great items. No cords, no wires. They spin automatically with natural or artificial light, which is amazing. They'll just spin all day long in sunlight or with artificial light over top as well. So really cool products. Pick them up for 2025 and get 10% off. Click the link in the description down below. Use promo code PWS10. That's PWS10. They've got Padres globes. They've got baseball globes officially licensed. They have so many more. They have Earth globes until at least 2032.
And then we're all dead.
Potentially beyond.
I'm sure they'll come out with asteroid globes pretty soon.
Really
we have one of their Earth globes in our living room on our bookshelf. And it's like right in the middle of the sunlight. So every day when I go out there, it's like just like rotating. It's really, really cool. So pick up a MOVA Globe, use our promo code in the description below. It's great for an office, great for a bookshelf, great for a desk at work. It's a great item to have if you're a Padres fan as well. So pick up one today.
Someone made a great point real quick back to the asteroid that even if it hit 70, like look at this planet, look at Earth, look at all that water, dude.
Yeah, what
So
about it?
70% of the planet is water. So if it hits water, what's going to happen?
Tsunamis.
Whatever. You know what I mean?
What do you mean, whatever? It's like the
Well,
worst
if
thing that
we
could
knew
happen.
though, I would just get away from the water.
Okay, so
Boom.
if
Problem
an
solved.
asteroid lands in the Pacific, John,
Correct.
that's going to create like tidal waves that will ripple to land, and it will put cities underwater.
Yeah, but I'll go to like East County.
You're gonna have to move to like Colorado, bro.
Well, okay.
Depending on like how big the asteroid was, but still,
Right.
you know, you haven't watched the like, you know what I follow on TikTok? It's this guy who runs simulations of what would happen to the Earth if like X asteroid like impacted Earth, and it was like it would show like the probability of life after the impact, where like how many people would die because of the impact. It's pretty.
This is why
dark.
it's important to be in win now mode.
It's pretty dark.
Like if you're John Seidler,
Yeah.
like this is why you need to be in win now mode. Okay, a couple of things. So they made another signing, right? Non-roster invitee Gavin Sheets, who had 451 at bats last year with the worst team in baseball history, the Chicago White Sox,
and a negative WAR, which is impressive.
Yeah, had a -1 WAR, 660 OPS actually for as bad as they were. I mean, his OPS plus was 90, which is bad, but it's not horrific. Again, it's just another flyer. I mean, just to add to the flyers that they have in camp, someone's going to break through and make the team. Martin Maldonado, for example, potentially Gavin Sheets as a fifth outfielder. I have no idea, but I'm not going to, I mean, what are we talking about? What value could he possibly provide? You need someone for 10 days because someone's hurt and he steps in and hits 250 and hits a home run. That's what you're basically looking for, or, that's the possibility of someone like that, I think, when you sign him.
Well, what it continues to show you, and I'll reference back to the AJ Cassville piece when the non-roster invites got announced. Let me see if I could pull it up. To me, it just speaks to how bad their depth is as an organization, that they are trying to replenish that depth with some guys that are on minor league deals, flyers. Like, hey, we need some depth because one, we traded away a lot of our organizational depth last year for Cease and a Rise and Adam and all the Scott and like we traded away a lot. So and we were not able to go out and re-sign Jerkson Profar or bring back other guys. So we need to like replenish that depth. Where did he have it? Yeah, hold on. Sorry. Just pull this up. Yeah, he's just, the last thing he says is, at the very least, this group could use a lot more depth and a tougher spring competition. So like, it's just spring competition.
Yeah.
Bring in guys to compete in spring because you have not a lot of depth, and see what happens.
Oh Lord, bless you. There's a superhero that I'm glad was supered, whatever the term would be. But thank you, Where You At Productions. Again, if you're here, please subscribe. We're, I think, 20-something subscribers away from 8,000. So if you're here tonight, live on replay, let's get to 8,000 subscribers to kick off 2025. We do appreciate that. So please subscribe here on content for baseball fans. And thank you for the supers. Just click the $ below the chat box. He says, do you think they'll address starting pitching? And who do you think they should go after in the remaining free agent market? I mean, I don't think they'll address starting pitching unless they do something like move a starting pitcher, which again seems like an interesting way to address starting pitching, by moving arguably your best pitcher. I mean, you look at available free agents, there's nobody that you're going to want that's going to make less than $10 million a year. So that's where it starts with, are you going to move Dylan Cease to add Nick Pivetta? No, that doesn't make any sense.
You're not going to add Nick Pivetta because he will not cost $1 million. He turned down a qualifying offer of $20 million. So there's no chance he's
Right.
gonna sign for anything less than
Okay.
10 or 12.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my point. Like, I mean, who are we even talking about that is available? I mean, who is out there right now that you could sign for 10, 12, 15 that you can guarantee, if they're healthy, is
Like,
going to provide value? Now,
like,
again, I could be convinced that you keep Cease, you move Suarez, you add a $12 million starting pitcher. You've now gained some depth in your rotation that affords you more of an opportunity, more rope to maybe win 85 plus games in 2025. But I mean, like, I don't know, like, throw out a name. None of these guys are overly thrilling to me. Like Kyle Gibson, how old is he?
I'm pulling it
Lance
up right
Lynn,
now.
how old are you? Like,
You don't want
this
Lance
is what
Lynn.
we're talking about at this point.
No, you don't want Lance Lynn.
No, he had like a 7 ERA last year, didn't he?
Yeah, there was like no, you just don't want Lance Lynn. Why can't I see pictures?
I think they're going to
Oh,
go
here we
with
go.
internal. I think that part of that Soto trade, Jim, was to go get a little bit of starting pitching depth with Randy Vasquez and Johnny Brito, and you have Matt Waldron, and there's probably another pitcher in there or two that might vie for a starting pitching job. I'm sure. So I think that's where they're going to start it from. I think it's Randy Vasquez and Matt Waldron and whomever else to complete the rotation. That's how I see it right now.
Yeah, if I'm looking at the list of pitchers here that you could sign for like really cheap. Yeah, like if you're not bringing back Martin Perez, I mean, a guy like
Yeah.
I've talked about him before, like Cal Quantrill makes sense, but is he
Ooh.
like could you get him for pennies on the dollar?
On the cheap, I don't see why you would be able to, truthfully.
You know, um, guy like Alex Wood, lefty, like can you get him for extremely cheap? Can you maybe like a Ross Stripling or I don't know. Yeah, I mean, honestly, not a lot here. And you're not going to you're not going the Pavetta route because he declined a qualifying offer. There's no chance. You give up a
Right,
draft.
right.
I think
So it would be multiple years.
yeah, multiple years. So that's not happening. Patrick Corbin, I mean, yeah, there's not a lot here. I think what you're going to do is you're going to go to spring training with what you have, and then maybe these deals drop for some pitchers, but like they're gonna likely go into the year with a rotation of Cease, King, Darvish, Waldron, and Randy Vasquez.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear Schilte's 5-minute rant? Not a rant, but just his 5-minute explanation of every single player on the team from
No,
FanFest.
I need to hear that like immediately. It's like all
Dude,
I care about now.
we played it on
Was it
the
incredible?
Monday show. It was it was 5 minutes, and it was so I was there at FanFest. So like I was filming
Yeah.
him. I should probably send you. You can look it online. I think they posted the video online. Padres did. It's 5 minutes long of Schulte saying how great every single one of his players. He names every single guy on the active roster.
I almost want to play that.
At one
Like,
point,
right
he's like Randy Vasquez. Guy made 20 starts last year. He was really great. Adrian Morejon. He was amazing.
Was Tyler Wade mentioned?
Absolutely, Tyler Wade
course
was
he was.
mentioned. Tyler Wade was mentioned.
Martin Maldonado?
Everybody was mentioned, dude.
Elias Diaz?
Everybody. I don't know if
I
Elias did.
need to hear this. Okay.
I can pull it
Okay.
up, but then it's from like I think another someone else's account. But
Gotcha.
But dude, it was incredible. Every single player he named was like greatest player ever. He at one point he started breaking down Brian Hoeing. I swear to God,
amazing, dude. I like some Brian Hoeing, truthfully.
I was
He
like,
pitched well.
and the best part was, it was I think the question was like, "Hey, Mike, so how you feeling?" or something along those lines.
That's amazing.
And then
Dude.
he mentioned the first thing he mentions is he's like, "Yeah, I love all the offseason moves we made." And this was before the Connor Joe and the Heyward. Like they didn't make it. All they did was Elias Diaz. Or no, I think Elias Diaz. When did he happen? I don't remember.
He happened before FanFest, didn't he?
It was incredible. It was an incredible. I said my take on Monday with it was I can't even really like make fun of him because what he did there is so impressive. I one day hope I'm as optimistic as Mike Schilt is because
He's really optimistic,
that
man.
is an impressive display of optimism from Mike Schilt after what this team has done this offseason or lack thereof. It's incredible.
What's like the number one, like just to kick off spring training? I think players report Tuesday. Pitchers and catchers, I think, probably have their first workout Wednesday. What's like the number one most intriguing part of where they are? Like,
Good
will
question.
they make it? Will there be a big move? Like, are we waiting for a shoe to drop? Is that the big thing? I mean, what
I'm not even
Padres fans like? What's the most intriguing storyline heading into spring training? Will they make a move?
I'm not even there because I don't think they're going to make a move. The only big move would be trading Dylan Cease, and I don't think that's going to happen anymore. Could be wrong.
Right.
I think the biggest thing is like, I don't know, dude. Just who's gonna win that left field spot, right?
I guess. I mean, we're gonna spend 40 days talking about that.
I think it's more questions than anything. Like, can Jackson back up last year?
True. Can Tatis stay healthy?
Yeah.
Manny's the number 4 and 5 starter.
Right. Manny says he's 100%. Can Manny start off hot?
Mm-hmm.
Like a hot Manny to start the year will do wonders for this team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rotation. What's the rotation look like? Can they get through spring training fully healthy?
Yeah.
As the rotation goes.
Yeah. That's a good point.
You know, what's the bench look like? It's not like sexy or anything, but
right.
Are they going to give Campy? Is Campy truly going to be put behind Elias Diaz or what?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I'm just looking real quick, by the way, because like you said, like you want Machado to get off to a good start. You want the team, obviously, to get off to a good start. Your first two opponents, like think about this, Jim. Atlanta 89 and 73 last year. Yes, Padres beat them in 2 games, right? In the postseason. Mm-hmm. But Atlanta's legit, right? We all agree. Atlanta's a well-run organization capable of winning 90-plus games every year right now, right? And then Cleveland last year won 93 games. Those are your first 2 opponents at home. Yeah. Those 7 games. I think I have that right. So there's 6 or 7 against Atlanta and Cleveland. But it speaks to your point. Like, you want to get off to a good start. You're opening at home. There have been all these questions about the future of this organization. They're spending. Like, and people laugh. Like, it's April. It's a long year. And, it's all factual. It's all factual. But, like, the perception reality conversation, you don't want to get off to a bad start. Opening at home, playing 2 playoff teams, right? Atlanta's going to be in the postseason next year. Cleveland very well should be in the postseason again in 2025. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like the pressure is there from day one. It's like you came off a 93 win season. It evaporated at the end. And then this absurd offseason, the no good, terrible, very bad offseason that I've talked about. Like, you just want to get off on the right foot. And I'm with you, whether it's Machado, whether it's the team, whether it's the health of the rotation. It just doesn't seem like the type of year you want to start 3-6. Not that determines your fate,
No, it doesn't. It's not like football where you start 3-6. You're like, there's a problem.
No, but you know what I mean? You know what people are going to be saying.
Yeah, out the gate, start 6-3.
Yeah, exactly.
Start 7-4.
Start 4-3.
Yeah, can you start the season 20-13? Like, can you play good baseball out the jump? Because a lot of stuff we've been saying this offseason is like, man, if they made a move that was sizable, that is going to help this team instead of hurt this team, the lawsuit and all that stuff, like, it's still the number one story with this franchise going forward, but at least you'd have something else to talk about. And at least it wouldn't make every fan be like, yo, what the fuck's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And there are moves to be like, hey, we made some moves, or Connor Joe and Heyward. So
yeah, I mean, I was really surprised that they elected to go like 2 veterans, I think, in an effort to platoon the entire season I mean, it's 2 major league deals. Connor Joe and Jason Heyward are 2 major league deals. One day before the start of spring training, whatever it is. My assumption is they plan for them both to be in the major league roster all year. Now, it doesn't always work like that.
Right.
And again, we said they make $1 million. You don't have to be perfect here. If Preller misses, and I'm saying it quote unquote misses, it's not the biggest miss, but you do need to find production. That's where it's a miss. I mean, it's not the money. Nobody cares about the money. If you miss on $1 million, no big deal. But if you don't replace the production of Jurickson Profar, which is going to be near impossible, that's the issue to me. It's not about the dollars.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say got lucky last year, but you kind of lucked into an awesome year from Jurickson Profar, and so you had 2 back-to-back seasons with all-star quality play from your left field, and that's why if Tatis just stays healthy and hits 40 bombs for you and has a 910 OPS, then you can have a drop off in left. It's okay. But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. I don't remember.
I like that.
Yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
Okay. By the way, for our viewers, now that it is baseball season, of course, NBA is in full swing, NHL, Underdog Fantasy. This might not be the perfect graphic since football season just ended.
Womp,
but
womp.
You can win up to 1,000 times your money in a single night. And if you use promo code PODSWRAP, you're going to get a 50% deposit match. Okay, up to $1,000, the best offer ever, plus a free gimme pick. And again, the promo code is PODSWRAP, PADSWRAP. Click the link in the description down below to take advantage, PODSWRAP. But the gimme picks are like Fernando Tatis Jr., higher than a half plate appearance. Like they're giving you, and all you need is 2 picks right to win. So they'll give you one, then you pair that with like Manny Machado, higher than a half total base. And if Machado has higher than a half total base, you're a winner. And you can win up to 1,000 times your money in a single night. You can play across multiple sports. One of your picks can be Tatis, another pick can be Steph Curry, and so on and so forth. So you can play across multiple sports. Super fun, super easy. Could not be easier. We've been playing for years at this point. You can win serious money in a very short period of time, like one night, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars you can walk away with. Again, if you sign up right now by clicking the link in the description down below, you'll get a 50% deposit match plus a free gimme pick. Use promo code PODSWRAP, that's PADSWRAP, and play along at Underdog Fantasy.
I was very disappointed tonight. I was a Saquon Barkley touchdown away from winning $350 on Underdog.
How does he not score when they score 40 points? Isn't that crazy? He didn't break off anything longer like an 8 or 9 yard run.
You know, I despise the tush push play because it masks a stat like Jalen Hurts having 5
20
rushing touchdown this postseason. Like, no, he had 5 from the 1 yard line that were just him falling over a bunch of players. Like, it just. I was pissed that they didn't give Saquon
I know at the 1 yard line what he's meant. He's 2,500 yards. You can't give him the ball at the 1 yard line.
Yeah, but
how many touchdowns did Barkley have this year because of that? He had all those 60-yard touchdowns, but he
only had I think 13 rushing touchdowns.
That's
all year.
So crazy
because Jalen's just a touchdown hawk.
Yeah. When
it comes to
which again, it worked out for them.
Yeah, it worked out good for them. They won the Super Bowl. Like Saquon this year. He had 13 touchdowns.
How's that possible? He had like 7 for 60 plus yards.
So he had 13 touchdowns and he only had 2 receiving touchdowns. So he had 15 total touchdowns this year when
arguably
he put together a season.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly. He broke the rushing record tonight.
Yeah, he thought he might have 30 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's I was not happy with that tonight.
It's only $350. What would you do with $350? Use it?
Yeah.
JD Gotcha, thank you. I like the Coach Quintero reference here. Thanks for the super. Says Coach Quintero told me the reason college baseball coaches don't take Major League Baseball jobs is because they lose a lot of program club control.
Well, they'd be gone, right? So they would lose control.
If they went from college to MLB, yeah, because right. I'm sure you have more control in college than you do in Major League Baseball. These front office.
Yeah.
Can you say it as if you work in Terra. Why college coaches don't take MLB jobs?
Oh, God. Hey, John, if a baseball player and a baseball guy in the minors, if he wants to go to the big league level, I just think that would be a big problem. I think that the guys that are in college need to stay in college. If they left to the big leagues, then we might have some problems here.
Some good ball players in college.
There's
though.
some really good ball players in the college ranks,
And you got to have
especially in our local San Diego scene.
You got to have some juniors and seniors on your bench, right?
You got to have a lot of depth and a lot of juniors and seniors out there. They're really, really good. I love Coach, by the way. So if anybody thinks I'm
we love
shitting
Coach.
on Coach.
Yeah, we love Coach.
Oh, no, Mickey Mouse. Yes, I love Coach. So this is not a slide on Coach.
JD Gasho following up. Thank you, man. He says Chip Hale was once the Diamondbacks manager. Now he's the Arizona coach. Wes Johnson was at several schools, hired by the Twins before going back to college, currently at Georgia. It happens, but rare. No, it does happen. It does happen. I mean, I don't think it's an indictment on college coaching. I think college coaching is good. I just think it's different. It's not the NFL in college. It's not Nick Saban going to the Dolphins, right? They're such highly publicized positions in football and basketball. Like, if Brian Dutcher took the Lakers job, everyone knows who Brian Dutcher is. It's a lot different when you get to college baseball. Like, you're much more in the weeds. Brian Dutcher going to the Lakers is a lot different than the Arizona head coach becoming the Arizona Diamondbacks manager, or again, Nick Saban going from LSU to the Miami Dolphins. But interesting topic. HBBBV, thank you, man, for the super chat. He says X needs to have season like Boston or he's out of here. I don't know if there is an ultimatum, because where can he go? They owe him so much money. That's the thing. I don't think you can really force him out.
He ain't going nowhere, dude. The biggest tell for how important Xander is to this team this year is their end of season press conference last year. AJ Preller, without being asked, said how important it was going to be for this upcoming season for Xander to return to all-star form.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, Xander needs, all-star season from Xander. And you're like, huh? That just says that they're putting a lot on his plate, and he's got to produce and he's got to perform. If Xander puts up another season like he did last year, or the first 2 years, it's a problem.
I agree with that. I agree. Well, I don't know if you can do the rest of the show in the Mickey Mouse voice, but the show is going to come to an end. Or will it? JD's third. Thank you.
Hacksaw? Craig? No, not doing that.
What are we doing? Are we just like a zoo animal?
Hey, John. I can't even do Hacksaw. Like, one man's opinion. I don't know.
I don't know either. I see him all the time at San Diego State, but I have no clue.
Whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, JD's third. I mean, come on. What are we like?
What am I, a puppet?
Kind of. We kind of are. Join us tomorrow on San Diego Sports 760 or on YouTube. All John and Jim shows are on YouTube. So you can watch us on YouTube. You can listen on the iHeartRadio app. You can subscribe to our podcast, right? Download the new iHeartRadio app. We're there 2 to 6 weekdays. San Diego Sports 760. And guess what the number one topic tomorrow is? Not the Super Bowl. Not on our show. It'll be the Padres with spring training starting within 24 or 48 hours. So we've got you covered tomorrow at 2 p.m. I think Kevin Acey's on the show beginning tomorrow, Jim. I think he's going to be on multiple times a week beginning tomorrow.
Oh, it's starting tomorrow?
I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure it starts. Let me see my text. Kevin Acey. You've got me 3 times a week starting next week.
Wow.
Kevin Acey, 3 times a week, John and Jim, from now until whenever the Padres baseball season ends. So he'll be with us on Monday, and we'll set the stage for spring training and where the Padres are to begin 2025. But it's back, man. Can you believe it?
Oh, I can believe it.
Oh, I can believe it too. Can Aaron believe it?
She's very happy tonight.
Well, yes. I know she's happy because Nebraska's home win over Ohio State today in college basketball. That was big. All right. Join us tomorrow from 2 to 6. Aaron's an Eagles fan. San Diego Sports 760. If you're here, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Year-round content for baseball fans. We're trying to get to 8,000 subscribers by the start of spring training. We're just 20-something away. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, we do appreciate it. Smash the like button for us. You can follow us on X, at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. And we'll see you tomorrow on San Diego Sports 760 on YouTube as well, 2 p.m. from 2 to 6. For Jim, I'm John. Baseball's back. See you tomorrow. Peace.
Bye-bye.